Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso@the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions. Today we are discussing a lovely Nomos Zürich Weltzeit True Blue. Now, the original Zürich came out in 2010, and in 2011 we got the Weltzeit, which is a form of geographic world timer. A geographic, a complication originally created by Jaeger-LeCoultre in 1989. Splits the difference between a world time and a dual time. But the blue version of the Weltzeit came out in 2014, and that's what we have here today. So 39.9 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel. This watch designed by Hannes Wettstein, a Swiss designer who drew from different elements of pop culture, world history, and watch design heritage to create this shape. A little bit more about that in a moment, but the size and the dimensions continue with a 11.2 millimeter thickness, and from lug tip to lug tip, the largest dimension, 49.2 millimeters and a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, the late Hannes Wettstein, a Swiss designer who was a polymath across many different types of product design, decided that he would take something that had a lot of the fundamental strength of the Heuer Carrera, but there are a lot of little winks and nods in here. The best thing about this watch is that it is slim and it slides easily underneath the cuff. It's nicely sized. The lugs can be larger because the case is smaller, and a lot of large watches have indecently small lug profiles. These are nice long arcing lugs, but they are the one element you need to keep in mind if your wrist is smaller, because at nearly 50 millimeters lug to lug, this watch actually wears quite large. Think of it as more of a 41 millimeter round watch and you get the general idea. My wrist, 16 centimeters in circumference, wears it well, but I can't imagine it wearing well on a wrist much smaller than mine, maybe 15 being the absolute bare minimum. And it will slide under a cuff. The strap is wonderful, buttery, light brown. You can see it's got a folded edge, a monotone stitch, and a soft grain. It's a lovely strap with no crimping, no gouging. You can see calfskin on the bottom. We have a simple Nomos pin buckle right here, which is very subtly Nomos branded. 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs, so you're going to find a universe of options in that universal size. There's a little pusher adjuster on the flank that allows you to step the hour hand independently. So once you have set the travel time function right there, that is your travel time. That is the place where you are not. Then what you typically do is you would use the pusher adjuster to move the hand to represent the current hour in whatever locality you're in. Your reference city or your current city goes up at the top, and then you can see how the watch does all the math as you use the pusher adjuster to change your city of reference. And this is how a geographic system works. It's got a reference city ring like a world time, but it really displays two time zones independently like a dual time. And we've got the little American-inspired home plate right there. A wonderfully quirky decision for a Swiss designer, creating a watch for a German-based brand. And this is a German-made watch out of the watchmaking heartland of East Germany and Saxony, Glashütte. Now, the watch. True blue, as you can see, with a multi-planar dial. I'll remove my surly fingerprints. And then the case with those super strong angular Carrera-like lugs. And they really do have a lot of presence and power. The case itself is pretty simple. There's a little bit of a reverse tumble home, so it's broader at the bezel than it is at the case back. Everything's in polish, a very minimally branded Nomos crown right here. All this is water resistant to 30 meters. We've also got a minimal bezel, and the dial has a soft blue granular matte texture with a concentric pattern for the sub-seconds. The watch does feature a hacking or stop seconds function, and then you can see that the watch includes little red index, and then there are tiny square indices outboard each of the hours. It is a lot of fun, and you can see some unexpected cities are used. F. Norona or Pago Pago. A lot of inventive, thoughtful, and quirky choices for the reference time zones here. And of course, or I should say for your local time zone, your reference time zones in a 24-hour format. Turn it all over, Nomos DUW 5201. So when you see DUW, that is Deutsche Ehrenwerke. That is the full in-house Nomos movement that has not only the bridges and plates and train, but also their swing system, balance, hairspring, and escapement. When you see a movement named after a Greek letter. That means it's an in-house caliber, but it doesn't have the swing system. It's very difficult to make things like hairsprings, balances, and escapements. You could see that Nomos blues the hairspring to let you know this is something special, an assortment made in-house. So it beats away at 4 Hertz. It has the stop seconds, the 12 24-hour split time zones. It's got a 42-hour power reserve, pivots on 26 joules. It is a large movement that fills this case back nicely, and it is adjusted in a superb 6 positions, one more than a standard chronometer. We have engine turned perlage, we have stripes, we have fire blued screws, and a couple of choice polished elements with a mirror shine. My favorite element, this handcrafted double solarized ratchet wheel. Truly special stuff from a brand that has a bit of a cult following. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.